The same role at the University of Washington for 8 previous seasons. You see his record with Minnesota. He's gone to the NCAA tournament all 9 chances as a Division I head coach. And his good friend on the other side, Brad Keller, in his 5th year, 73-30. He's the only person in the history of the sport to serve on the coaching staffs for UCLA and USC, men's and women's. Getting ready for action here on a match that could go the distance. You have 2 teams that like to invite longer rallies and play a similar style. And so we get a late start tonight, Cam, and could be up a while watching this one.
There's no doubt about it, especially considering what Minnesota's done in just this season alone. 7 matches going to 5 sets. They've won 3 of those to this point, and that last 5-setter at UCLA just an evening ago.
It's the 8th ever meeting between these 2 teams. USC has the series advantage 4-2-1. There was a tie all the way back in 1979. And the last meeting came in 2017 in Gainesville in the Sweet 16. USC won in a sweep, but Minnesota won a Final Four match in Long Beach, California back in 2004. So some NCAA tournament history between these 2 programs, but not a lot of recent familiarity besides the coaches.
Yeah, it's so fun to see actually Brad Keller and Keegan Cook, both coaches formerly out of the Pac-12 as Keegan Cook was at Washington. These guys are really good friends, but they do utilize different systems, so it's going to be fun to see these 2 teams face off.
It'll be rotation 1 for Minnesota with Schaffmaster taking the opening serve. And Tyra Ariel throws one down for USC.
USC is quick to find their middles, whether it's out of serve receive or in transition, and that's the beautiful part of Mia Tuaninga's setting, her ability to find that connection at any given time.
Tuaninga, who's also a great server, will rotate back and take this first serve for the Trojans. Handled by Polabiuk, the libero. Tight on the set because Livings, one of their pin hitters, had to set the ball there. And a double is called because the ball went over the net and was touched by an opposing player. You can still get a double in that situation. Alex Acevedo with the serve. Tuaninga setting the middle again. It's Ariel.
Well, we said it right off the top. They're going to look to find their middles. Not only do they have Batenhorst, as she's in the backcourt, one of their premier attackers on the outside, but this is a team that has looked to develop offensively. And where have they looked? Well, the middle position.
Allie Batenhorst clips the tape. Tuaninga can send that ball anywhere, but this time Minnesota was ready for Livings.
This is one of the nuances to USC's defensive scheme. Their off blocker comes underneath to pick up those tips, so it actually forces Onyanwu out of the offensive scheme. Makes it a little tougher as Minnesota has the ability to transition back out for the point.
Lydia Grote gets one to the court for a Golden Gophers point.
Lydia Grote is the priority for Minnesota. She has been a daunting task for teams to have to face. She has so many weapons in her skill set, whether she's on the right side or the left side.
She's shown the ability to convert from either side. Even in the same match, she moves around as Ariel is denied.
What a massive, massive block from Julia Hansen, paying attention to the attack on the other side. Look at this. She stays tough and helps out on that quick A ball. That's a set right behind the middle, or right behind the setter for the middle attack.
3 straight for Minnesota, make it 4. The Turkish setter, Zeynep Palabic. Middle's going back and forth. Now Schaffmaster sets Grote. Lower set outside there to Famuina. Tuaninga has some options. Famuina again. Some of these long rallies we expected. Famuina through the block and down.
A couple transition opportunities for U.S. Gala Ruben keeping this alive. Look at the outstretched full layout. Dig on her side perfectly in system. And I love Famuina being aggressive transition play.
Brad Keller was telling us he hopes that USC can drag out these points and be the more creative team in transition. Rattles around the block. We go back to Hansen again. Livings has a big arm.
A huge swing from Jaden Livings. A different lineup for USC. They've utilized this a handful of times where Livings has actually been playing on the right side instead of the outside. Just an evening ago, she actually is on the outside as well.
Lineup changes. The last few matches for both of these teams, there are some injuries involved. In this case, you just have 2 players who have flip-flopped, as you described. That is out on a swing by Famuina. Coach Keller was telling us that right now, Livings just feels more comfortable on the right, Famuina on the left, but long-term, he kind of likes their upside in the opposite spots from where they're at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, because Livings has such a really pretty platform. Her ability to have that first contact is something they want. 6 rotations in there.
Not a system, though, and that was a ball you just got to get over. That's where you see some issues from Livings, who has a ton of potential.
Minnesota just missing into the net, but that's one of the areas of focus for them. They understand that their service pressure is going to be pivotal in this matchup. They want to attack USC's serve receive and try and get them to pull that first pass off the net.
And USC on the whole this season has been up and down as a passing unit. And the joust, Schaffmaster loses out, but Minnesota still on the point. And a slide swing for Melissa Minity misses the mark.
Trying to utilize the slide, and actually with Famuina now playing on the outside, that's one of their better blockers, one of their better pin blockers. So you have to be careful going up against number 1.
Over 0.8 blocks per set, very good. And there's a roof. It is Leah Ford who enters the lineup. And the starting lineup for USC after checking in as a sub last time out.
We mentioned different systems. Well, how these 2 teams manage out-of-system plays is different. USC is going to try to push the tempo even in those opportunities, whereas for Minnesota, they're going to send a high ball to the outside, like on that last play.
3 straight for the Trojans, back and forth in the early going. Good block cover. Tipped over by Hansen. And that is smashed. Famuina got all of that.
Talk about a crush. Famuina, just those last 2 steps, and she can still elevate. No block in front. And that ball is still bouncing.
That's what a Division I power conference outside hitter does when there's no block there. The deception, we talk about that coming in for USC.
What's even more wild is considering the fact that Tuaninga is actually front row in that situation, meaning she only really has 2 real attackers in the front row. Utilizing the overload was what allowed that open net opportunity.
You don't see a lot of points where there's just no block on a set like that. Another absolute smash from Livings behind the attack line this time.
It's hard to believe Livings is a true freshman. Her physicality, her explosiveness, and this is probably one of her best attacks. It's called a D-ball, where she's in the right back corner and she is a back row attacker. She utilizes really, really solid jumping skill from that corner.
Part of the reason why they flip-flop those two pins to where they are now. Livings so good at that D-ball behind the right attack line. It's Minity answering, stretched out toward the pin.
And I love to see true slide attackers. Minnesota has the ability to not just run a slide, but what they consider a half. This is a full slide, meaning there are different spots at which she can attack this ball. The slide is all the way to the pin. The half is halfway between the middle of the court and the pin attack.
Good pass by Batenhorst. Pass to attack. Block was ready. Tight a little bit on the set. Batenhorst looking for hands. Didn't get him.
If you're sitting in the front row, you better watch out, AJ. She was just swinging for the hands on that play.
I don't know, even if you're watching, if there's much you can do there. And she turned that 45-degree angle right towards the first row. So look out there. This time goes the other way, right down to the court.
I think Batenhorst just went OT over the top of the block. Great last two steps. And you can see the outstretched arms of the middle blocker.
Transferred from Nebraska for a bigger role this year, but wasn't a very important player for a very successful Cornhuskers team the last few years. Just had that really heartfelt reunion match last weekend. It was really cool to see.
Yeah, it was brilliant. A chance to see her back in action at her previous university, and the welcome she got was, I think, speaks more than anything about who she is as a person.
Yeah, Brad Keller said he'd never seen something like that, especially an opposing player getting a press conference put on by the host institution. Here's Batenhorst finding the angle.
And I will tell you, I've called a lot of USC's matches, and I have not seen her make a swing like that. And even she's stunned. This is what you call going 4-4. There are 6 locations on the court. The left front corner is that 4 position. It is so difficult and such a sharp angle to attack to.
Grote hitting left side.
Heavy arm from Grote. Keegan Cook has been notorious as a coach for training his outside attackers to be great at hitting high hands, aiming deep into the court, and it becomes so challenging to block. Grote is really good at that skill.
Whoa, right into the block. Livings is denied.
Grote with a one-on-one opportunity, and she is elated. That is a massive press to the other side of the net. To be able to pick up a solo and take up that much airspace is just next level.
Well, they want to put Grote against some of the best pins on the opposing side. Part of the reason why they moved Grote around as well. Good play there by Allie Batenhorst. And hey, interesting too, just thinking big picture for a second, Cam, coming from that upset win for Minnesota on the gridiron that hopefully a lot of you were watching here on Big Ten Network. And we expect another really exciting matchup that goes down to the wire between 2 evenly matched teams here tonight.
Well, and the score is indicative of that, even just in this first set alone. I have a feeling there's going to be, from set 1 to set 2, and through the conclusion of this, there could be some adjustments even from a coaching standpoint in the rotations that these teams look to and the matchups that they look to.
A couple of teams that this year at least have some similarities, even though their coaches have different styles, but the coaches know each other really, really well from Keegan Cook's days at Washington. Rolled right to the middle, and that's a kill for Famuina.
And this is what you want, an out-of-system play, taking care of the ball and still adding just a bit of pressure. This off-speed shot, you can see Minnesota's defenders sitting back on their heels. That's what that changeup can do.
USC very good at changing up their pace. Trojans are insistent here in transition. Off the block all the way across and out. It's a kill by Jaden Livings. We're seeing a lot of Livings in Famowina, which I think Brad Keller enjoys.
Absolutely. When you talk to Brad Keller, he says this team's success is really focused on those two in terms of their offensive outputs. They have a lot of weapons to utilize, but if those two are at the next level, this offense is going to be firing on all cylinders.
Kill by Grote. Both of them really pop on film, but looking for increased consistency. Livings, just a true freshman, one of two true freshmen who have started consistently this year for USC. Famowina been out for a long time with a back injury, so it's almost like she's a freshman, even though she's a redshirt sophomore.
Yeah, she still has 3 years of eligibility.
Even Batenhorst had a reaction to that interaction. And a point for the Trojans in Famowina, as that'll take us as close as it gets at the 15-point timeout. USC 15, Minnesota 14. Buckle up for a good one here tonight. Allie Batenhorst gets the Trojans off to a nice start offensively.
Check out Mahomes' top 3 plays of the day. He scrambles into T-Mobile to get that new iPhone 16 Pro on us. It's a little shimmy, shimmy, shake. What you think?
Most attacks and most kills in a match. Kalissa Minity earns one for Minnesota to tie this at 15 in the first.
Looks like Minnesota is looking to engage their middles pretty significantly here in this first set.
Minnesota won the first 2 sets at UCLA 24 hours ago. Lost the next 2 sets, including the 4th set at 27-25, but then pulled off a 7-0 run in the 5th set. And speaking of 5th set runs, USC closed the 5th on a 10-1 run after trailing 11-5 against Michigan. So drama for both teams in 5-set wins last night. Pulling Tuaninga out of system there, but USC still scores with Adania Famowina.
That is Famowina's 5th kill in this first set alone. She's hitting .444. That is well above her average through Big Ten play right now. And again, she has shifted from the right side to the outside.
The shift is working. Through 32 points of action here in the first set, and a missed serve puts Minnesota back in front. There's Hansen, even more important right now with McKenna Wooker still day-to-day for Minnesota with a back injury. Minity on the slide early in the first set. We're seeing that a lot. They can't convert. Instead, Ford puts it away.
You're starting to see the impact of USC's block. There's the first contact. USC forcing Minnesota to try and find another transition, and then the dunk from Leah Ford. She's someone that's been in and out of the lineup for USC throughout this season.
Gray Gosnell comes in to serve. On the pick right there. It's a big swing by Hansen.
A little taste of their own medicine. USC known to be one of the teams to really heavily utilize the big attack, meaning the back row attack, and it's set very quickly. I like to see that from Minnesota, adding into the mix.
You don't see it as much from Keegan Cook and Minnesota, but they certainly can do that when they're in system, and Hansen is back there. Trying to find that sharp angle was Ford, but she missed.
But you can see the elevation, the contact, the connection. It is there for Leah Ford. But how about the pass from Gosnell? That was right on the money.
Here's Batenhorst. Here she is again. Schaffmaster finds the back corner.
We talked about the differences in these two setters to start the show, and check this out, the turn and shove. This is one I actually removed from the film. She has the ability to look to the corner and use both hands to find the corner.
Minnesota has won 6 of the last 8 points. Timeout USC.
When my doctor gave me Breztri for my COPD, things changed for me. Breztri gave me better breathing, symptom improvement, and reduced flare-ups.
Breztri won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems.
Hater probably could. Coming off the timeout taken by Brad Keller and USC, hoping to reverse their fortunes. Batenhorst into the block. To go right back, and great response getting back toward the attack line and reloading.
Just when you think they're in trouble, or Batenhorst is on the outside, she finds a crafty way to score a point. Schaffmaster is a taller setter and a formidable block, so they're going to have to pay attention to that matchup.
Batenhorst scores once again in a different type of way.
USC trailing, but they are out hitting Minnesota right now, 257 to 167.
It's a kill for Phoebe Alalea, who transferred from Georgia, also played, well, she played at Georgia first, then Loyola Marymount, and a graduate student.
But this is in-system volleyball at its finest. What a set and swing. The slide from just inside the 10-foot line.
Don't go to her a ton, but can certainly make it happen when they do. Tuaninga, Batenhorst. Leaning towards that, Livings finds the line. Wow.
I think Livings just hit that with her fingertips, and I don't know how she did it with that much pace because she was stretched on this play.
Yeah, it was a clever choice from Tuaninga, but she barely got it close enough there for Livings. USC showed last night they can come back, and they're back within 1. Timeout Gophers.
Why would I use Hims to have my ED meds delivered to my door? I love pharmacy lines.
Why would I use clinically proven ingredients to regrow my hair through Hims?
Served by Tuaninga, just missed. What do you make of that? And I wonder, we didn't even ask them if either coach is aware of that record, by the way.
Yeah, I think that might be one you want to stay away from with Brad Keller.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of bringing it up to Brad, for sure.
No, but I think more importantly, these two have such mutual respect for one another and are good friends.
There is Batenhorst from a different location.
Yeah, Batenhorst through that rotation does attack from the right side. She is their #1 opportunity. Minnesota has to shore up some of that blocking. They're creating just a few too many holes through the center.
Easily a career high average in kills per set this year for Batenhorst at 3.8, number 8 in the conference coming in.
Watch for Grote on the right side here.
Got to get a good pass though first, instead of free ball. This is Peach coming in for the first time with a swing. Now Grote on the right side. Hits him out of system. Nice short shot. Clever play by Adania Falmoina on a key point.
That's the second time she's found a kill with an off-speed, a roll shot over the top of the block. Minnesota, again, expecting the hard-driven. They get a hand on it, just not enough elevation.
Hansen rockets it wide.
When we talked to Brad Keller before this matchup, he said we have to have tough serves. The service pressure has to increase. Even though you might not see it as an ace, those two serves create the opportunities for USC to transition back out. They now lead by 1.
Auto Owners protects your home. Because, well, somebody should. That's simple human sense. Ask your independent.
hoping USC can get a top 25 win. In fact, a top 12 win as Lydia Grote for the number 12 Golden Gophers converts, and we're essentially at deuce now in the first.
But just off the last thought for Minnesota, better first contact allows them to get that ball to Grote. They have just one more rotation with her in the front row.
Tuninga. Famuina rattles around the block, and it falls out of play for a USC set point.
Minnesota's getting hands in front, but they are just not completing their blocks fully. We've got to get those completely developed to have a bigger impact at the net.
Middle blocker in to serve. Aerial, so no libero for USC. Polabiuk sets Hansen. It is wide. And USC with another tight set victory, just where they finished last night against Michigan, picking up where they left off. 25-23 Trojans in the first.
USC coming up big with their game plan. The service pressure right at the last second of this first set, paying dividends for SC as they take set one.
Nothing dims my light like a migraine. With Nurtec ODT, I found relief.
The only migraine medication that helps treat.
It was close the entire way. Opening swing for Phoebe Awalea, and a point for USC.
And AJ, I'm going to challenge your memory here. If you think back to the start of set one, where did Minnesota look initially? It was right. It was those back-to-back kills from the middle attack. They've got to get that opened up to relieve some of the pressure on Hansen on the outside.
They were able to feed Minitsy early on some slide attempts as well, but didn't really see a lot of Gopher middle action as the set went along. Batenhorst just rolls that one, handled by Polabiuk. There's a middle swing by Minitsy. Trojans get it back over. Grote, two hands. It's effective. Grote, two hands and down. Lydia Grote.
Minnesota challenging the depth of the court, even on an out-of-system play. When things aren't going your way, how much pressure can you apply to the opposite side?
Usually a lot. That's one of the calling cards for this Minnesota team. They scrap, they find a way to win points. Big swing, Livings.
And considering Livings and Faumuina both transitioning from right side to outside, you're going to see them in certain rotations take swings from each of those positions.
A serve. You mentioned the whole positional fluidity. That's a similarity with both of these teams, because you see Lydia Grote from either pin. Great serve there by Batenhorst. Handled by Thibault, and Grote converts it into a point.
And that's set well inside the court. Grote does a nice job as a right-handed attacker to get her feet in on that ball and try and get it on her right shoulder.
So she goes back to serve. Doesn't play in the back row for Minnesota besides the serving rotation. Finding the angle, that's a 4-4 shot. Faumuina.
Look at you dropping the 4-4.
Well, I heard you earlier.
AJ, that's right on the money. Set inside, double block in front. I mean, that's just a beautiful swing.
I mean, we're seeing what Brad Keller was telling us with Jaden Livings and Adania Faumuina. And Faumuina, again, if they can fully realize their potential this year, then USC can go a long way.
It's been about increasing offensive efficiency for USC, so they have really kind of changed things up, whether it's at the middle attack or utilizing different pins it's also been about getting healthy. This is a team that's really struggled with injuries.
Hansen goes short. Tuaninga thought she found a pancake. Not quite. And a point for Hansen, who hit negative in the first set.
Hansen's going to continue to pull herself out of this hole, and the way to do it, a change of shots. She's got a double block in front of her. That is a beautiful shot, and it also takes the setter out of the mix, even if she got it up.
A tough weekend so far for Hansen. Only had one more kill than error last night. Got sick in the fourth set, had to leave. Minnesota still managed to win. Acevedo with a softer shot. That is pancake by Zeynep Palabic. Livens twists into that one and scores.
Talk about a gritty performance from Hansen, playing while she was sick yesterday, and to see her back out on the court now. I mean, she is a tough cookie, but speaking of cookies, how about something else sweet? A little pancake from Palabic.
And that swing from Livings, higher level of difficulty. You know, we were kind of told that she's a player that typically this year has been better when in system and the conditions are perfect, but she and Famuina are scoring in a variety of ways tonight. Can't say enough about how important those two are to USC's fortunes. This is Elise McGee, the Kansas transfer, who had a huge service run in the fifth set against UCLA last night for Minnesota. Blasted into the block, and Minnesota's double block of Schaffmaster and Awalea gets the better of USC there.
And that block is not just about picking up a block point, but it's about making a statement, trying to slow down Famuina. That is a huge move for Minnesota.
Again, tipped short, and a late whistle indicates that Grote did not get there.
It's tough to see. Yeah, just not enough from Grote on that. Finds the ground, and not really much of an argument either there.
And this isn't football there. The ball cannot touch the ground, period. In that situation, we've seen a pancake contest take off in the last 4 or 5 points. Palabic was the only one that got one up successfully, I think, in this sequence.
Getting a full stack here.
Yeah. What's the most that you could eat in one sitting? Acevedo. Well, Batenhorst thought she got some contact there. It looked from our vantage point like she might have, but the call on the court is out. USC might think about challenging.
I wasn't sure if there was much contact here, but there's the dig. Gala Trubin just sitting down and finding one more, but it does have a bit of a wobble on the net. Ooh, that right finger. Yeah, I actually saw that right pinky finger, got a little piece of it.
Well, USC could have challenged it and decided not to, and this is a sport where if you win a challenge, you keep it. Leah Ford with that block against Grote.
And here's a look back at that contact. Batenhorst, it's pretty clear that right hand in the slow-mo got a piece of it. So Minnesota sneaks one.
USC, though, still up by 2 and up a set. Schaffmaster pushes it to Grote from the left side.
And what a gorgeous set from Schaffmaster. This is probably a 27-foot set. Just 3 feet inside the boundary of the court. So much height, plenty of room for Grote to have great vision and attack down the line, the smaller block.
Schaffmaster made it look easy. She leads all Big Ten setters in pretty much all the major categories. Grote starting to heat up. And when I say Schaffmaster leads Big Ten setters, talking about all time among active players, her career numbers. No one has more assists, digs, blocks, and a better hitting percentage currently in the Big Ten for their career than Melanie Schaffmaster, as Minnesota is on a bit of a mini run. An ace serve by Acevedo. 3 straight points for the Gophers.
These 2 rotations for Minnesota and SC are fun to watch. You've got Batenhorst going head-to-head with Grote here.
Here's the matchup. Setter out of the play. And here's the matchup again. Running down into the head of Ariel for a point for Grote.
And right on cue, these 2 just playing at a higher level. That's tough as you're trying to come down and find the ball, especially when it's right over the top of you.
That'll happen from time to time. An answer there from Batenhorst.
When you're playing at that high of a contact point between Batenhorst and Grote, you have to kind of pay attention to even some of those high hands, that contact, that reach. You have to be dialed in and understanding just how high you have to go.
Tuaninga goes pretty high on that jump serve toss. Hanson off the edge.
I love what Keegan Cook had to say about facing this big block for SC. He said, whether it's a double block, a triple block, if you're an outside hitter, you can make it a one-on-one opportunity whenever you want. Just attack down the line and find that edge.
It's only a double block if you hit into both blockers, he said. Unrestrained Batenhorst with a big-time swing.
Think back to the open of the show, Mia Tuaninga. How about one-hand flip?
My gosh.
Come on.
Get out of here.
Nobody sets the ball with one hand better than Mia.
That was like a reverse layup type of movement. That's on the wrong side of the antenna. It's out.
For those new to the game of volleyball, the antennas are the boundary of the court extended above the height of the net. The ball must be played in between the 2 antennas for it to be good on the other side.
A serve. USC has not been a very effective service team for the most part this year, but is starting to get a little bit better.
Service pressure can come in a multitude of ways. It doesn't just have to be an ace. It's location, and it's also target.
Batenhorst to Thibault, who handles it this time. Grote is down to the court.
The contact height for Lydia Grote is just unbelievable. Unless you're 6'4" or 5 with a 30+ vertical, I don't know if you're getting a hand on that. That is wild.
She says she has the same mentality, whether she hits right side or left side. Just go and get a kill, either way. Not sure if the block got a piece of that or not. Doesn't matter. Point for the Gophers. From our angle, it was tough to tell.
And for Minnesota, a bit of a break here. This is what they've been looking for. USC has had a significant offensive performance through set 1 and into set 2. It's one of the first errors we've really seen.
Batenhorst, and that is the 20th assist of the night for Tuaninga, which means that she has passed Tony Anderson for 4th all-time in program history. So congrats to Mia Tuaninga.
So impressive as she dials this up for Batenhorst on the back row attack. Something to pay attention to, just one blocker up in front of that back row attack for Batenhorst.
Tuaninga moving up the record books. You see a back row swing there by Grote. Oh, and now there's that mid-ball halfway between a back one and a slide, and it's put down hard by Callie Engelman.
Finding offense on the quick set behind the setter. Off 1 foot, no problem. Minnesota up by 1 in set 2. just approach the game in different ways. Schaffmaster, disciplined, high ball, great control.
Here she is. Engelman has just checked in, had that kill going into the timeout. Again, was there contact? The answer this time is yes, a kill for Famuina.
And then on the other side, for Tuaninga, just so impressive in terms of her ability to play free-minded and the deception she can display. She's really imaginative with her offenses.
They pretty much match what they are on the court. Sometimes see a little bit of that dissonance, not there. I think the personalities fit what you see on and off the court.
Schaffmaster, the three-time All-Big Ten. Setter, so impressive from a setting position as well as a blocker, a defender. She really can do it all.
And finally healthy this year. Keegan Cook made the point that she had cleanup knee surgery in the offseason and that her mobility was limited in the last couple of years. So now she can reach more balls, has to bump set fewer balls than she did in the past. As Minnesota sides out, puts Elise McGee in once again. As you take a look at Schaffmaster, the redshirt senior from Newcastle, Indiana. Acevedo, dug by Trubin, and leads to a kill for Famuina.
They finally were able to drop Famuina's numbers below 500. However, with this, she's going to climb right back up. This is her 9th kill. She is even right now with Allie Batenhorst for the USC Trojans.
Both have good hitting percentages. As you mentioned there, Famuina, at the moment, she's listed at 375. Had a couple of recent errors knocking that down. Batenhorst 292. Trubin up to 9 digs for USC to go with 4 assists already for the libero, and that is down and in for a serve. Gray Gosnell, the Indiana transfer.
Gosnell has stepped up for USC. When Gala Trubin actually had a concussion, she stepped into the libero jersey, but she's also a great DS for them, as well as adding some service pressure.
A good short serve the other direction. But Acevedo against Tuaninga in the joust.
Acevedo, we need to say her name more for Minnesota right now. I want to see her get a bit more offensive. Can they find her and create?
Wait a second, I thought the setter always wins the joust. I saw the rule broken. By the redshirt freshman Acevedo. Bashed off the block by Batenhorst. Now Tuaninga takes a swing. She can do that too.
She just looked like she had a cut shot on the beach.
I mean, it's appropriate when you talk about USC's 4-time defending national championship beach program.
That's as good as Kristen Nuss.
Off the sideline there, a kill for Lydia Groth. Up to 11 for 22, Groth to lead Minnesota with 3 errors. The problem is right now for Minnesota, nobody else has more than 3, so they're more one-dimensional than USC so far offensively. Livings misses the mark.
And it's important, Minnesota shifting 2 blockers in front of Livings in that rotation. She has struggled when she has a strong block in front of her trying to create. Now, if she's one-on-one, she is looking a lot better.
Batenhorst tries to throw one. Here she is again, softly. Hansen tips. Batenhorst was ready. Playing this entire point inside the 10-foot line right now. And it'll end that way. Batenhorst.
AJ, there's actually a game for that in volleyball. It's called short court, and you're spot on. That entire rally happening within the 10-foot line.
Short court, like the pickleball version.
Yeah.
without the annoying thwack. Sorry, I'm not a pickleball guy.
Oh, man.
I'm a tennis guy.
I was going to say I'm the opposite. I like both.
It's all right. I thought I liked you. No. Hansen with the miss, and USC in what has been a really close set again is inched ahead by 2. Timeout, Minnesota.
What's the score of the game?
I think you can start to shade and shift some of the blocking schemes that direction, so low to pay attention and have the conversation of where she is in every single rotation. You have to understand that at times your priority kind of shifts, so they have to deal with Batenhorst right now, as well as Valmoena.
USC out-hitting Minnesota for the match by almost 100 points. How is this so close?
The defense of Minnesota, that's the first thing you come in and notice, right? The digs per set.
Lead the conference in that category. A chance to tie this second set up. Minnesota down by a set. Lydia Grote handled there by Gosnell, but they couldn't get it over, so it is tied at 21.
You can guarantee they're going to go right back to Grote. Setter in the front row for Minnesota, and Hansen on the outside.
I don't think one team has been up by more than 3 points, it feels like, so far in this match when you even look back to the first set. This has been really close through the first 2.
Yeah, it absolutely has, and it's impressive. Minnesota's outside's having a little bit of a struggle offensively in terms of their attacks. However, I would still look to their middles. That's where they've been a bit better, especially considering they've got to get the ball to the middle as well as Grote.
Yeah, neither team has led by more than 3. That's wild when you look at these two teams. We thought they were pretty evenly matched coming in. See all those ties and lead changes as well. All even at 21 here in the second set. And just recently, those hitting percentages have converged a little bit, but USC still out hitting Minnesota 219 to 138. And USC has the big digs advantage, 31 to 20 right now. The Trojans, though, have made 7 service errors, which has made a big difference statistically, although Brad Keller, he's okay with that. He wants more aggressive serving.
He understands that with service pressure, the errors are also going to come, and a handful of those coming at Mia Tuaninga's expense, but she also can rattle off 4 or 5 straight, which is exactly what she did in the 5th set last night against Michigan to get them that win. Maren Grote, or excuse me, Lydia Grote. Maren's her sister.
Understandable mistake. Keegan Cook coached them both. For the last 7 years, he's coached a Grote.
364 is her efficiency. She's already at 11 kills. Look for them to find number 9 on the right side.
Lydia Grote, you're right. Even if it took you a second on the first name.
Well, I called her sisters matches as well, so it's no surprise. So you knew it was going to happen once. But again, swinging high, deep seam, it's nearly unstoppable unless you put a backcourt defender in that position. That was the 8th kill of the set for Grote. That's a match for a lot of people. Tyra Ariel, though, with the response. I came into this matchup thinking USC was going to utilize their middles significantly, as they have at about a 20% distribution rate, as opposed to Minnesota, about that 16% distribution rate. But really, Valmoena has stepped up on the outside, so they haven't had to look to the middles as often. Minnesota looking middle, and again, substituting in during this set, Callie Engelman, the Georgia Tech transfer. If you step onto the floor, you want to make an immediate impact, and that is exactly what Callie has done here. Quick little throwdown for the point. It's a 4-1 run for the Gophers. Grote serving line, and at Valmoena, Schaffmaster, Hansen. That looked really pretty on all sides. And the difference in that swing is she reached full extension. Look at the contact and where this hits the blocker's hands. Great turn for number 22.
Minnesota has 5 of the last 6 points going into this timeout. And now 2 set points to work with. Breakout season for Julia Hansen. And I really love Keegan Cook's comments about it, telling us that when they got the news that Taylor Landfair was transferring to Nebraska, he said to Julia, I don't want you to miss the moment on this, and she has taken advantage of the opportunity.
She has, and she is carrying a heavy load right now in terms of finding all the out-of-system opportunities in this matchup. She's facing one of the best blocks in the country. It's actually, by the numbers, the 5th best blocking team in the country. So this is a true challenge for her. But this second set, she is starting to climb.
It's interesting you mentioned the blocking, though, too. You take a look at the team attributes, and both coaches are so different in how they approach it, both equally effective but different. Yet their teams have some similarities this year. They're also, you know, not to mention the injury thing, they're both dealing with the injury bug, but just some of the numbers. Minnesota, a good blocking team. USC, a really good blocking team. Neither team really has passed the ball all that well. But in terms of the eye test, they're very, very different the way they try and approach things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for USC, they've been trying to solidify that first contact. They were a bit shaky against Ohio State, but against Nebraska, it was an 0-3 loss. They actually passed the ball pretty well. Right now, they're in need of a pass facing set point.
Gophers doing this on Lydia Grote's serve. She's from Burbank, California. It's a homecoming for the Cal Berkeley transfer. Set point. Block is there. USC gets it into the block again, but it's down on the Trojan side, and Minnesota takes set 2.
You asked me about the shift for Minnesota. Well, they did it just there. Big block in front of Val Moina, trying to slow down her numbers.
Minnesota ended the second set on a 6-1 run. So we will step aside after USC took the first set by 2 points. Minnesota wins the second set in another close one. We have the long set break and back shortly for the third.
World. I'm surprised she's not standing and dancing, but great to have her out from Washington.
This is her reaction to her favorite song.
I know. You know what? She's
stoic.
She spent a lot of time in this gym watching me play, so really fun. And I appreciate our crew for getting her on camera. Thanks, guys. You rock.
She wants to break out and show us the moves, but she's not quite there right now at 9:16 local time. This is the final point of the third set as UCLA across town matchup. Take a look. UCLA is up 2-1 over Michigan. Going into the fourth set there, crosstown from here. Maryland defeated Rutgers 3-0 earlier today. And by the way, Dodgers just won. Looking at another local matchup with some relevance. ABCA top 25 poll. Big Ten leads the entire country with 8 different teams ranked, including the 2 we're seeing right here.
I mean, the volleyball just keeps getting better and better. These matchups, we said it, this could potentially go 5, now split at 1-1. It is exactly how we imagined, just in terms of how close these teams are. And you're going to see this through the rest of Big Ten play. It's what makes this conference so special.
We have number 12 versus number... And they split last weekend in a couple of quality home matchups against Wisconsin and Purdue. Won that border battle, the 5-set victory against Wisconsin. And this should be another close one. It has been that way so far. Neither team has led by more than 3 points in a set through the first 2.
And AJ, you can already start to feel the intensity ramp up. The DJ playing some good music, and both of these teams, whether they're on the court or on the bench, are dialed in.
Phoebe Awalea scores for Minnesota.
I don't think Minnesota's allowed to start a set without a middle kill. For the third time in a row, they find the middle, and I would love to see them continue to do this as the set progresses.
It's like they hear their coach pleading with them to go to the middle more, and they kind of lose it as the set goes along. Excellent effort by Livens. Grote hits at Tuaninga. Behind the setter, an attempt by Engelman. Well placed by Batenhorst, and she converts on the overdid.
Amazing defensive play. And this is actually just the second contact. Jaden Livings, the full extension. And then Gala Trubin diving underneath. Batenhorst putting an exclamation point.
Grote is rejected. Riley McGinnis checking in for USC, playing a role in that double block. Long rallies and lots of lineup changes, although those two things might be connected. But two things we expected to see between Minnesota and USC, especially playing for the second time in 24 hours after both were involved in 5 setters.
An interesting lineup shift there for USC. Riley McGinnis, she is one of the more offensive middles that they have.
Hey, can somebody actually go up by 4 points in a set? There's a chance for the Trojans. And they do, and it's McGinnis.
Right on cue. McGinnis, great at this gap set. They run their one with a little bit of extra height and hang to it. It allows for the middle attack to kind of pick and choose and actually turn that attack.
Well, she chose well on that occasion. Nice set by Schaffmaster to Lydia Grote, so it wasn't a 4-point margin for long.
So this is the trade-off, though. You have the swing from McGinnis, but then she goes and fronts the middle, creating the gap, so you start to lose a little bit defensively. This is where the game is played. Chess and not checkers.
Hey, saying that a McGinnis is not as good defensively.
I know, it's crazy.
That's not something you usually hear. Of course, her father, Willie McGinnis, won 3 Super Bowls as an intimidating linebacker for the New England Patriots and starred at USC as well. They were ready for Schaffmaster that time. It was Leah Ford with the block.
So Leah Ford back into the mix. Great press on the one-on-one. And this is actually against the setter. Well prepared for the dump.
Coach Keller told us he likes all 4 of his middles. Expect to see them all this weekend. That's what we've seen. Pamelina. Hansen dig to attack. That could have been a lift right there, potentially. I don't know what you think.
I mean, that was a little close on the contact. No argument from Keegan. It was
either one of those.
Quick, but hard with the open hand.
Timeout is called. USC up big all of a sudden in the 3rd.
Still have symptoms from moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease after a TNF blocker like Humira or...
The Trojans continue their run. It's now 8 of the last 9 points for USC. And an ace by their libero, Gala Trubin, out of San Diego, the 5'8" junior.
She's a sneaky, tough server on this team.
Again, inflicting damage until some resourcefulness delivers for Minnesota.
Great word choice there. She was put in a tough position, Schaffmaster, and her ability to still reach high. She's one of the tallest setters that you will see. And ultimately, getting that first contact, the shove with her offhand.
Well, that's not unusual for her. She can score in that way, and 2 impactful points in a row for the Gophers. An ace by Hansen. Those are a couple of momentum-building points if you're down big, potentially. It's all even in terms of sets. A running bump set by Tuaninga. Get out of here with that.
AJ, this has a name. The jump bump.
The jump bump.
Come on. Usually I see that in beach volleyball, not indoor.
That's just silly. That was a pretty good set as well. USC was ready, though, on the out-of-system swing. Molina with 2 hands towards Acevedo. On the D ball, quote is denied. It is Ford.
There were some questions on that previous set from Tuaninga, but nonetheless, the block still being put up in front of Minnesota. It's destructive right now.
Did you see this coming after the first 2 sets, how close they were? 11-4. Cam nodded her head no, but to be clear.
I'm sorry, I was also in the ear with our great producer, Jeff. Apologies.
I wanted to let the people know that you did answer me. You weren't being rude.
No, to answer your question, I am a little surprised right now at the separation between these 2 teams in set number 3. Really sneaking away from Minnesota. Their serve receive is causing some problems. That's a better ball.
So the Minutzi on a slide, but she's blocked. And remember, USC is a really, really good blocking team, 5th in the nation.
Watch how they track this. Molina reaching outside of her body. Oftentimes, you don't want to see blockers doing that, but in their blocking scheme, they train this to shape their blocks back inside, even reaching outside of their body.
And another big stuff, Leah Ford.
I mean, this is a wall if I've ever seen one. And you can see how active their hands are. That is a great shot. See how they're reaching out and then they're pressing back into the court. Beautiful slow-mo by our Big Ten Network crew. Great work.
Both got a piece of it. Ford up to 8 blocks. Acevedo tools her. You mentioned the different blocking technique. Brad Keller says that that's something they've been implementing due to the speed of the game, the way there's been an uptick in the pace of play, and so much is asked of these middles now that they've changed up their blocking technique a little bit.
And middles are accustomed to having kind of block outside of their frame because they're having to close every single block. But to see pin blockers do it so well to close down the line is just extraordinary.
Ford gets in on the action offensively. Leah Ford, the redshirt freshman, had not been in the rotation recently, came in as a substitute last night, and is having herself a night as a starter.
It's always nice to have a middle attack that can run a slide, really frees up and presses the offense to the exterior of the court.
Gosnell short serve. And the dig overcooks it a little bit, so here is Minnesota. And Acevedo will get down there.
I think Brad Keller's catching his breath. He saw 3 of his women of Troy going right into the chairs at the back of the court. You love the hustle. You just need the health.
I don't know if Brad Keller was or that camera guy that you're seeing back there. Get out of the way for USC. Probably both were. Tuaninga, nice looking set to Batenhorst.
And And that's going to be the answer for Minnesota, swinging high. I know that's coming from Batenhorst, but if you were to ask me what's the equation for success for Minnesota, it swings like this with a double block in front. How high can you go and create pressure?
Schaffmaster to Grote. Block touch with the control to an Inga. Another big-time delivery. Riley McGinnis with the kill.
It's one thing to build the setter to middle connection, but to do it in transition is very difficult because the pieces are all moving. The variables are just so great, but right now they are dialed in.
He's up over 30 assists now to Aninga as Grote answers. What about the setter-hitter connection with a middle and transition, who also, by the way, happens to be your fourth middle, who is in there now?
Well, and that's the nice thing with their offensive scheme. They do lay up that one ball a bit, so it really allows for the attacker to kind of come in, pick and choose their spots. There's a little bit more grace in it.
Batenhorst terminates. By the way, talk about their middles. We haven't really mentioned that Faber Anyanwu is not playing tonight, at least so far. Nothing's wrong with her. It's just a case where they're right now going with the other three. We've seen Ariel, we've seen Ford, and we're seeing McGinnis.
And quite honestly, it's a luxury to have all four of those names in the mix. They bring different skill sets to the floor. When at times you need a bigger block, you'll pull one in, and at times you need a bit more offense and versatility in certain gaps or schemes, whether that's in front of the setter or behind the setter.
Somehow Lindsay Miller, who started last year, is their fifth middle on the depth chart. They could use some of that depth right now on the pins where they've dealt with injuries. London Weejay remains out. She has missed the last 6 games, now 7 in a row. And they don't really have much depth if anybody else goes down on one of the pins. This is a washout in the third set after it couldn't have been closer in the first couple of sets. USC taking control at home.
And if I'm Minnesota, I just want to start to build some momentum here. Can we get our passing into a better rhythm? Can I get better connection with my attackers?
That was a good connection. And Calissa Minity for the kill.
But it all starts with the first contact, getting in system. Schaffmaster, you can see in front of the 10-foot line. Great shovel to her middle.
Batenhorst with the set. Batenhorst earns the assist on a Livings kill.
Anytime an athlete gets to use their hands that's not a setter, it's like glory. You just revel in it, and it's such a volleyball thing. So Batenhorst pulling out the hands on this one. That's a fun moment.
And the setter's like the quarterback of the team, so it's like a receiver or running back getting to throw a pass. It's almost like that equivalent.
Yes, exactly.
That's a waterfall ball down for another Ford kill. Leah Ford is up to a 5 for 8 day with 8 blocks.
Her contact point, even on the misconnect, creates problems for the other team.
USC goes deep into the Texas recruiting pool. Ford is one of 5 different Texans, about 30% of the roster. Because naturally, if you're in Southern California, why not go to Texas? I don't know. They certainly recruit the state well as well. I'm just kidding. Big time boom by Hansen. Just too hot to handle.
I mean, the sound of that attack, exactly as you described, that was a boom. This is a heavy arm. Hansen put a little extra something on that.
I mean, Trubin, she got there, but just nothing she could do with it. As you said, at this point, it's really just what can Minnesota generate to give them some life in the fourth set.
Right now, just too many errors on their side. Hitting 080.
Batenhorst from the backcourt. And a Leah Ford conversion.
Brad Keller loves his quotes. One of the things he talks about is calm under stress. And this recycle play, you get a good swing, team finds a dig. USC calm in that moment.
They talk about it so much, they call it CUS. They shorten it. I like those acronyms. Calm under stress, as you said. Megan Verbeest was in there for some point scoring, but missed on that serve. So 23-11. And the service sub on the other side, McGee. It just feels like you never know where Tuaninga's going.
And to the serve receive credit, they've gotten her into that position in front of the 10-foot line, allowing her to utilize all of her attackers, front row, back row. I mean, it's an offense that's firing. Currently, this set alone, this is a wild number. They're hitting 700 as a team in this set.
No errors. 12 kills on 17 swings. That is efficient, to say the least, for USC. Trubin had that one caught up high, but earns the dig. Schaffmaster behind her. Trubin pancakes it. Paula Trubin having herself a point. Jaden Livings on the soft shot, the D-ball attack for the win, but you give credit there to Gala Trubin.
Absolutely. 3 consecutive digs from Gala Trubin, finding the 25th point. That was outstanding. The first she dug with her shoulder. That's a next level defense.
Trubin up to 14 digs to go with 5 assists tonight. Tuaninga close to a double-double, 35 assists and 9 digs, and a blowout win in the third for the Trojans.
The itch and rash of moderate to severe eczema disrupts my skin night and day. Despite treatment, it's still not...
They're going to have to face the jump serve of Mia Tuaninga. Top 10 in the conference in service aces. It is Crowell with an early tip. She pulled the string, and Lauren Crowell, when Keegan Cook looks for experience, he finds the redshirt junior from Eagan, Minnesota, and puts her in the lineup.
Well, and I anticipated this switch. I'm imagining that
probably Grote going
Lydia
left side.
Grote will go to the left side and try and create a bit more offense from that standpoint.
We start with Hansen left front. Back to Crowell. She is 2 for 2 in the early going.
And immediately having an impact, like I mentioned before, when you put somebody new into the lineup, you want to see success quickly. She has been sitting for 3 sets. It's important for her to get ready to go. So far, so good for Crowell.
Off the block and down. So USC is able to answer. Jaden Livings there with the disposal. Batenhorst, tough serve, and at best a free ball. Free chance, USC. Tuaninga puts that on a platter for McGinnis.
Being a great setter is not just about putting up a hittable ball. It's about making the right decision, and that is clearly the right decision. Not a single block in front.
Batenhorst back-to-back effective serves. Crowell missed.
It's going to be important for them to get Crowell opportunities when she's in the front row. She's also good in the back row. Steady in the serve receive, but also they like to use her as back row attacker.
Well, I mean, she's 6'4". There's been times when she's actually DS'd for them and hit that D-ball and giving them an extra option as a back row attacker. And she'll go back to serve right now, so you could see her on this point hit that D-ball attack. Tough serve and an ace for Lauren Crowell.
You could not draw up a better start for Crowell in this fourth set. Offensive, and then from the service line, getting it done.
Until that miss, but they need to find another dimension offensively. USC currently out-hitting Minnesota 313 to 157.
And I think you almost have to clear the mechanism in terms of the efficiencies here. Because that third set was so lopsided, it's going to be really important to watch the efficiencies in this current set and how they shape out.
Well, both are pretty good to start. Minnesota 3 for 5, USC 2 for 2. That is out, but a net violation on Minnesota. That was going to be nowhere close on that high swing from Famawina, but Minnesota went into the net. That is Melanie Schaffmaster at her best. Keegan Cook, her head coach, said he hasn't seen an attacking-oriented setter be as big of a threat since Jordan Poulter.
And it's because she can do it in so many different ways. This is the first dump you learn as a setter. We call it the 8th grade dump. You just keep your shoulders square to the outside, a nice little two-handed shovel over the top of the net.
Livings tees up again. We've seen good performances from Jaden Livings and Adanya Famawina to go back to where we started, talking about USC.
Famawina was at one point hitting well above 500. Right now sitting at 320 on the match.
And Livings into double figures with that kill, hitting 400. Batenhorst leads the Trojans. She is over 300 with 13 kills. Grote on the left side. There you go.
And this is what I anticipated heading into the fourth, trying to find more offense on the outside where your outlet attacker is. And check out the mismatch. I know she goes cross court here, but if Grote is in trouble, she could attack down the line at the 5'9" Tuaninga.
Grote has 15 kills. Julia Hansen has gotten better as the night has gone along, is up to 6 kills. Still Minnesota looking for more diversity offensively.
And this
that is blocked there on the Baten. I was wondering, I'm sorry if that was actually contact there on the block, but they got Batenhorst.
But this is unique to Minnesota's system because they have such great wing defenders. They only put up one blocker at times on the back row attack.
Crowell with that D-ball attack, a tip point.
Utilizing her out of the back row gives you another attacker. So now three attackers currently on the floor. You consider that right back corner.
3 straight points for Minnesota. Kansas transfer Elise McGee with the serve. Famawina tips, Crowell right there. Schaffmaster on the slide to Alalea, and she is sent away.
And to me, that's a decision from Schaffmaster that needs to be revised, considering there was the mismatch on the outside with Tuaninga in the front row. Against Grote, you want to try and find that attacker in that mismatch as often as possible.
Grote dig to attack. Gosnell with the dig. Everyone laying out, but a point for the Trojans.
Block and defense for the women of Troy. They put up a triple block in front of Grote, and she still somehow finds a way to get around it, but their backcourt defense saving the day.
Something else USC does differently than a lot of teams. They're more willing to triple block. Schaffmaster on the attack once again.
That's just mean. Oh man, I love that. That's amazing. That dump is just so aggressive.
You see her physicality displayed in a lot of different ways. And she'll serve. Feeding Batenhorst. And Grote. Schaffmaster made the all-conference second team last year, was on the first team the year before that. Had just an outstanding career. The redshirt senior from Newcastle, Indiana, misses the serve. Her sister Mabry, three-time all-conference selection for North Carolina. Great family. Schaffmaster, just one of the best to do it.
You have a lefty on the outside right now from Minnesota. Do they go to her?
This rotation, they go to Grote, which seems to make sense.
And that's a big rotation to get out of, even though now Grote is back in the back row. How efficient can you be if you're Minnesota here?
Grote is by far their leading offensive player. Now in the back row. Schaffmaster, Julia Hansen. On the season, Hansen's been their top point scorer, so she has to continue to ascend within the confines of this match.
Ascending on some tempo offense. What a fantastic delivery. Single block up in front, well executed.
She started off really quietly tonight, starting to wake up. Grote, second ball. Hansen just puts him in the net.
But this is the struggle of an outside. Because you get so many of the out-of-system plays, you have to take care of the ball, and that is what has hurt Hansen tonight.
They're just hitting 120. Thibault passes it well. And Hansen responds.
A fantastic response from Hansen. I like when they give her a little bit more to the pin here on the location from Schaffmaster. It allows her to turn down the line.
It's her favorite shot. Her coach tells her, keep on hitting line until someone stops you. Cross-court angle there, and Livings connects.
To circle back to your conversation, the two attackers USC really wanted to have numbers increased. Jaden Livings and Adanya Falmoina. Livings currently at 400, Falmoina at 308.
Yeah, we're seeing why Brad Keller is so bullish on them and thinks that they're so important to his team's chances this year and in the long run. Allie Batenhorst graduated from Nebraska impressively in 3 years, playing her final year for USC. Had to serve there. Now Livings shoves that across the court. Schaffmaster couldn't get there on the dive.
What does your transition offense look like for SC with that off blocker coming underneath? At times it can take out your out-of-system attacker, but they're unafraid to still run that offense from the right side and get crafty when need to.
Batenhorst with a decent up, but it just floated over toward the official stand where Tuininga couldn't get there.
Again, Crowell doing a really solid job. The lefty finding just enough of a seam.
Well, rotate her back behind the service line. Livings blasts off the hands.
All of USC's attackers in some nice rhythm right now.
The Livings up to 500 with that kill. Off the tape there. Minitsy with the miss. And that's going to take us to the 15-point timeout, a 5-1 run for USC.
Protecting your vehicle starts from the inside out with style, quality, and durability. At SmartLiner, we've engineered custom-fit, full-coverage floor liners, tailored to the specific make.
And for Livings, just 18.
And a net clipping ace for Gala Trubin. When it rains, it pours if you're the Gophers.
SC is going to look to score several points in these rotations with Grote on the sidelines. They're actually looking at potentially subbing her back in here. Keegan Cook questioning there.
They get out of it. Well, it feels like Minnesota. And now they're going to put Grote back in, like you said. Feels like this one has to go 5, right? Minnesota, they haven't played a 4-set match this year to return to that game show.
Last 3 have been 5-setters for Minnesota.
My producer just asked, are we doing the game show voice again?
I think
if it is Batenhorst with a nice kill. If we go 5, maybe we have to do it.
Batenhorst, 6'5", and she uses all of that 10-foot line.
And for a 6'5" player too, like you see the gracefulness is still there in the way that she moves. Very fluid athlete. Oh, Grote just can't fend that one off.
For context, Mia Tuininga, 5'9". Something about setters, I'll tell you. She goes up second, a little extra power, and how about the dance it out?
Hey, what are those?
Little Caesar's Crazy Puffs. Everyone's getting them.
Yeah, kiddo.
Translates onto what she does and the energy that her teammates feed off of on the court.
And the setter-hitter connection goes beyond just finding the right set and the right location. It's all about having that personality, leading your team. And right now, Mia's doing a really solid job of that, up to 44 assists in this matchup.
You can even see just in that one clip how genuine it is, how she brings in her teammates and embraces those positive moments as Megan Verbeest throws up an ace, and this is big-time danger zone for Minnesota.
Grote in left front. Watch for them to go there and down the line.
9-2 USC run. Can Grote get the Gophers out of it? Not quite right there. Another joust. Stays in play. Tuininga with the options. Pummeled by Falmolina, but she missed it wide.
And this is the challenge for Minnesota. They're getting some of those good first contacts. However, the ability to find a first ball side out is starting to slip away. They're only really point scoring in transition, and that just becomes a really tall task to have to face, rally in and rally out.
Remember, we talked maybe a little more about USC's depth issues and some of their injuries, but Minnesota, they really miss McKenna Wooker, who should be back soon, we think. They get an ace there from McGee.
Yeah, Wooker, not just a great attacker and having great offensive output, but from a blocking standpoint, it's a bit of a loss there.
She provides a lot of solutions to some of these issues that Gophers are facing on the road today, but those unforced errors coming into play as well. They're in the net. Keegan Cook disagrees. He pulls out the challenge card. And that's the first one we've had in this close match deep in the fourth set. First challenge.
Did that go through? The original call was net on Minnesota. Minnesota is challenging that it was not a net.
Looking for the net violation.
So maybe just the ball causing that vibration.
But more importantly, giving Minnesota a chance to talk Keegan Cook with his team.
Yeah, no matter what, they get the free timeout. It's a good challenge right there from Keegan. Yeah, that's the ball. That's the ball for sure. For my money, I think that's going to get reversed. It's almost easier to see. I don't know what to tell you on that one. I thought that was obvious on the replay, unless we just missed something. Even though the ball did hit the net, if her hand was also in the net. This is the only look we really have that could help. You got to keep in mind, they might have more looks on their DV Sport replay system that we're not seeing, but see the ball into the net there, causing that net movement.
And by the way, the hair is not a net violation if your hair touches on the turn.
Good point. Still, Minnesota does get a free timeout out of it, but Batenhorst tips it down. USC by 4.
Off speed yet again. Right over the top of the block, stressing the right back defender.
Those are pretty good numbers for Allie Batenhorst. Got a side out here if you're Minnesota. Osnell doesn't let that happen. Schaffmaster, you could see she wanted to do something offensively. Batenhorst off the block and down.
She's quickly becoming unstoppable. They're trying to run that overload play where the middle attacks through the gap and holds the opposing middle blocker, creating just enough space for Batenhorst to find another kill.
She's had 5 kills in the set, and USC is on the brink. Split the first 2 sets, blowout Trojans win in the third, gaining control as this fourth set has gone along. Looking for a home weekend sweep. Both teams won in 5 last night. USC had to impressively come back and reverse sweep Michigan in what Brad Keller admitted to us was probably not one they should have won. He thought they could have easily been swept in that match. Somehow found a way. They were down 11-5 in the 5th set and came back. Finally, Minnesota scores. It's Phoebe Awalea. But the Gophers need a big run. See who Schaffmaster targets. Going at Batenhorst, predictably, I think you would say. Batenhorst tipping toward the corner.
Even when the opportunity isn't the best, USC has found ways to score points tonight, elevating them to a match point.
Chance to win 8 of their last 9 matches if USC can put away a match point right here. Lydia Groen projected. It is Batenhorst and McGinnis, and USC wins both matches at home this weekend.
What a blocking performance from USC. They walk away with 13 total team blocks. The 5th best blocking team in the country may have just increased their stock.